Okay, it is time for the power rankings going into week 3, and I have the notes here from the man in Vegas. And look, we gotta talk about the man in Vegas for a second. This is how good the man in Vegas is, right? If we take the rankings from last week and we look at the matchups, and if you were just to blindly predict the favorite team to win, that would be the team that was higher ranked on the man in Vegas rankings. You would have won every single bet except for one. The team that was higher in the rankings compared to their opponent won this week. Like, the man in Vegas knows what he's fucking talking about. Like, I think this dude is legit. I'm just saying, I think this dude might be legit. So, in saying that, this is another week where not a lot's going to change because the man in Vegas, he's just like accurately predicted the teams like very well. Like, no one has kind of, except for like one team. There's one team that has really impressed based off expectations or like the man in Vegas' prior knowledge and prior predictions on the team. But everyone's kind of playing how we thought they would. Everyone's kind of, yeah, like kind of just doing what we expected. Some teams are a little disappointing. There's some teams that have played well. But let's just go straight into the rankings again. No team in D. Then we have C2. We have one team moved up, and then again, like not a lot has changed. We have Kansas City and Tennessee. They're gonna fight each other. They're getting an extension because they were busy with in real life stuff. They weren't inactive, so I'm not giving them the straight forfeit. I'll let them do the battle whenever. So there's not really much to say about these two teams, and to be honest, the winner probably wouldn't move up anyway unless they do really, really well, like a massive win. Um, Detroit. So Detroit I think Detroit's in a little bit of trouble right now. There are rumors going around that Hayden is doing some R-rated activities before his games, and he's not taking his spandex suit and strap on off before the game, and he's battling in that, and I think it's taking a toll on his gameplay because I don't know if it's distracting his vision. I don't know if it's just uncomfortable if it gets really hot or sweaty in there. I'm not too sure. I haven't read that far into the report. I kind of just put it to the side and shook my head. But I think there's something going on there in the locker rooms in Detroit. If anyone wants to look into it, they can. I don't want to open the locker and find like 1,000 bottles of lube or anything. So I don't know what's going on in Detroit, but I think they're in a little bit of trouble. I think I'm the man in Vegas. He's just seeing a few things with the prep that suggests that there's like some distractions going on. Like maybe he was bringing some secret source, and like we just don't understand the prep. We just don't understand the vision that is going for. But it was just a few little things like the speed boost on the Scolipede that really would have turned like the tide of the game around. And I think there were comments made in the battle by the coach saying that he forgot about a few things of like some stuff that the opponent's Pokemon could do. I can't remember what it was exactly, but I think I remember seeing that. So I'm a little worried about Detroit. But I really hope they can turn it around because they still have the best team they've ever had before. Arizona, I think they lost actually. They lost to Carolina. I'm also worried about this team. If you were to tell me that there was like a coach in the league who's had their account hacked and like taken over by a completely different person, and you came out that it was the coach of the Arizona Cardinals, I would believe that because I've never seen like a change up in like someone as big as I have with Adam compared to when he joined until now. This is what I was saying, that he needs like his character development needs to be studied. I've not seen like a change up, and if he was like hacked and like someone's taken over his account and has just kind of like slipped in, and this is like secretly like Bass or like what's his name? I forget his name. JJ, and like it just kind of like slipped under the radar. I'm sniffing something. I'm sniffing something, and I'm onto him. But there's definitely something going on there, and it's like it's interesting. But I think this team's in trouble right now. I think this team's in trouble. Tennessee, again, haven't played. Las Vegas. This was a rough game. It was a rough game. Torterra is just a beast, though. Like, it's one of the best Pokemon in PSL. Runner-up for low-tier MVP, defensive MVP. Even had some MVP votes for this last like few seasons. Like, Torterra is just a beast, and if it gets out of hand, it's very hard to stop. Going on to C plus tier. We have a lot of new teams in C plus tier. We have Carolina moving up, and then LA and Washington moving down. And again, like a lot of these teams kind of lost. Like they kind of just lost to the teams that were like above, and it's kind of like everyone kind of played how I thought they would, and it's not much new to say. So I'm trying to like just like talk shit to make it entertaining, but like there's nothing new I really learnt about anyone this week. So it's kind of like tough, but Carolina, they're 2-0 right now. They're currently winning their division. They're beating New Orleans, the defending champions, by 1 differential point. But the difference is that the competition has been significantly easier for Carolina. They have played Dallas and Arizona. They beat Dallas by 1, which makes sense. I feel like they're pretty much even teams. I think one was at the top of C and the other one was at the bottom of C+. Like, would not be closer. And then they beat Arizona by 3, and yeah, I think Arizona's in a little bit of trouble right now. So again, like they won. You can only play who you play. They won. They did good. They're winning their division. Let's see if they can keep it up. I don't know who they're gonna play next week. But if they can keep racking up the wins, like they can only go up. So I've been impressed with Carolina so far. New England, New York, Chicago, Aqua Jets, Atlanta, Buffalo, Washington, and LA. All these teams lost this week, I believe. I believe all these teams lost. Seattle still has to play. Seattle play Tampa Bay. So if Seattle get a big win against Tampa Bay, we could see them move to, at minimum, the top of C+. The top of C+ at minimum. But yeah, all these teams kind of lost. Atlanta was that was a rough one. And same with Buffalo. These are rough losses. Not rough as in like, oh, they played absolutely dog shit. Like, no, this was just rough as in it hurt me. It hurt me to see these teams lose, because I'm really on the train of Buffalo and Atlanta this season. I really want to see them make a comeback, and it really hurt to see Buffalo. Let's talk about the Buffalo game for a second, because this is a game where it was just so fucking unlucky, dude, to get paralyzed on a Thunderbolt that's 10%. To get full parried twice, 25% each. Someone did the math, so I'm going to believe them, because I'm not going to check it. That kind of happening, to get paralyzed on a 10% and then full parried twice, is like under a 1% chance. And then to have that happen in the worst possible scenario, when you have I think it's called a Veluza, set up on you, +2 attack, +2 speed, and it proceeds to sweep you. That to me it's rough, but it's not I don't get a lot out of that victory, out of that defeat. Like I don't get a lot of information from that, because it's just so fucking unlucky, and that's not going to happen every week. That's probably never going to happen again for this team. So I don't learn a lot from that, and who knows what the fuck would have happened if he never got paralyzed on that Thunderbolt, and he never got full parried twice. Maybe he would have won the game. So it was a very dominant win from the opponent on the stat sheet. But if you watch the game, it's like, oh, this really could have gone a few different ways. And there has been a lot of that this season. So like, if we look at the Exeggutor sweep, right, that was a massive 6-0 to start the season. It could have easily not been a 6-0, and the opponent just had to play around it better. And 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be a 6-0. And there was another game, I think this week, where, let me have a look. I've got all the stuff right here. I can't remember, but there was another game where it's like, oh, okay, this Pokemon kind of went off, but 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen again. And then we have the Veluza thing as well. So, yeah, this is a loss for Buffalo, but I don't think it means anything. And I think this team's going to be fine. It's just unlucky, and it's Pokemon, and teams will lose unlucky all the time. But if you play well, you're going to win more than you lose because luck's going to go your way sometimes. And in those games where there's no luck on either side, if you play better, you will win. And I don't know if he would have won, but I really like this team, and I think this team's going to be good. So expect Buffalo to bounce back. And then Washington and LA. These teams are, they're falling apart a little bit. They're cracking at the seams, and like LA's still in a pretty good spot, I think, because like their division is just all 0-2 right now. I'm pretty sure their entire division is just 0-2. It's all 0-2. Lux has Kansas City Charizards, they have their game to play against Tennessee, but right now it's put down as a forfeit. So this entire division is 0-2, and anyone can still win. There's literally two differential points between last and first, -6 to -4. So anyone can still win this division. If I had to place any bets, I don't even know. I don't know. Anyone can win. Anyone can win this division. It's still up for grabs. So we'll see if anyone can turn it around. But there's just been a lot of inconsistent performances from these coaches the last few seasons. And then we have Sindel, who's new, taking over a new team. He's still just trying to figure it out. It's just his first season. He's trying to feel the boots of Pop, and it's a lot of pressure on him. It might take him a season to kind of get a hang of it. But he can still turn around and win as well. So that's the division's still up for grabs, which is kind of cool because all these teams got start 0-3, and you're like, I'm 0-3. I really want to keep going. I'm like not gonna make playoffs. Well, if everyone goes 0-3, like you can still win this division. So we'll see how it goes. Like Jolteons were like last, and then the last 2 weeks they won both their games, and they ended up winning the division. Tier B. So again, not a lot changed. These teams all kind of won or performed well. Like I think the only teams to lose in this entire tier were like the 49ers. I think everyone won. And they played very well in their loss. And then I'll start with the Minnesota Slokings because this team's had two very strong opponents and they won both games. So I think this team's legit. This is probably the team that was very underrated by the man in Vegas. This is probably the biggest move of the season. Like, we look at all the teams, like barely anyone's moved from their preseason ranking. This team just playing very well. The Prince is kind of backing up his season. And like the man in Vegas, he likes to see you do it twice. Like if you come out and you have a god tier season, you're not probably getting rated as like one of the best coaches. You'll be ranked like maybe a little bit above average, but until you like show it again. And that's kind of what Prince is doing. Like Prince is showing that he is kind of legit. So that's good to see. That's cool. And then like Pittsburgh played well in their game again. I think this team's really good. I love this team. Houston, nice bounce back win. LA with a nice win. Jolteons with a nice bounce back win. Philadelphia is just doing very good again. They're 2-0 right now. They're moving up. The reason the 49ers did not move down is because they've played two tough opponents and they've played very well in both games. They are 0-2, I believe, but I think the differential's -2, and they've played Minnesota and then the defending champions. And he held his own against like both teams, and then both games were close. So this is where I think the team is kind of like, this is probably the worst roster in Tier B. I think it's quite rough, and the fact he's been holding on like tells you how good the coach is. But if he had like a legit roster, I think he'd be 2-0 right now. I think he would have won both games. There's just a lot of weaknesses on the team, and good coaches can take advantage of that. And I think that's what happened. I think that's why he lost. But to still like only just lose and like really like put those teams on the ropes, this team's still good. This team's still legit, and it's still a threat, and it deserves to still be in like mid B tier, kind of where it was ranked at the beginning. Cleveland, just doing Cleveland things, played well. It's good to see them 2-0 because the problem with this team is like they're very inconsistent. Like, this is a good team, a good coach. Everyone respects this coach, but they're very inconsistent. Like, that is, I'm not sure why. They're very similar to the Wild Chargers. I say it all the time. Like, these teams, they're very inconsistent. The only difference between these teams is that Cleveland's had that big playoff run and they won a championship. If you remove that, that'd be like identical. But this season, they're separating a little bit, and Cleveland's kind of running forward. So that's cool. I think it's the first time they started 2-0. I think I heard he said. So that's awesome. Colts, good bounce back win. Jappy's like defending champion. This team's legit still. And then Baltimore, they lost. They lost as well, but they played Miami and they played pretty well. Like, they had the momentum and like the advantage for like the entire battle almost. And then like Baltimore, they're just like, I mean, Miami, they're just hard to beat. They just waited, made the right plays, saw the opening, then took advantage of it, and Weavell just took over the game. But it was still a good performance by Baltimore to even like hold the momentum and like the advantage for the entire game. They won the division last season. They're playing well again, so they didn't move down too much. Green Bay played very well. Cincinnati played very well. I think Cincinnati's opponents haven't been the best, but they've won. They've won, and I think Green Bay's have been like decent. Green Bay have played decent teams. I think the only reason I was considering making a B plus tier for the teams like Minnesota, Green Bay, and Cincinnati, and then Tampa haven't played yet, so we'll see what happens in their game. I was thinking of making a B plus tier team, but like looking at the teams that they've played and the competition that they've played, I kind of expect them to have won the way they have. Like, these were the teams at the top of B. They played teams below them on the rankings. I expect them to win. I expect them to win how they did. I expect them to play how they did. That's why they ranked where they are. And that's kind of how they played. So it's hard to say, like, it's hard to make big moves because the teams are kind of playing exactly how they should be playing based on their rankings. So I'm not learning too much. Then in A, we have 3 teams here again. Again, I was considering moving Miami and New Orleans up to A, or making it again the B plus tier team and moving New York down to B plus. But New York, their schedule has been really difficult, and unfortunately they're 0-2 right now. But they played Minnesota and New Orleans. The only way you could possibly like really play tougher teams, like based on like coach performance last season, if we were to play like Miami. So he sort of has had probably the toughest opening schedule to start the season, and he's 0-2 right now, but didn't play bad in those games. Still played good. But we'll see how he goes next week if he bounces back. Because if you want to be an A tier team, you've really got to get wins against these other teams. You can't keep losing close games even if you play well. So we'll see how that turns out. New Orleans, a very tough schedule as well. But they've got 2 wins out. Very close games though. They're not dominating the games like they did last season with a very, very easy schedule. So that's something you have to remember. Like, New Orleans, they did win the championship and they did show up for playoffs, but they did have a very easy schedule last year. Now they have a tougher one. The differential, they're not winning by as much, but they're still winning. So I would argue I'm more impressed by this than them dominating the teams in like C. So very good for New Orleans. And Miami, they have the best differential in the league right now, best record overall. Just, they were ranked number 1. They're in number 1. I just don't really know what else to say. They're kind of just playing how they should for the team that was ranked number 1 to start the season. So not a lot of new things learned for like a lot of these teams. This is a short one. This was a very short one. I tried to talk as much as I can, rambling on about like just random bullshit, but the league's kind of panning out exactly how the man in Vegas thought it would. So if we want some big changes, if we want some massive changes next season, I want to see some surprises. Okay, I want to see some surprising games. If we have another week where the favorite just kind of wins all their games again, and they kind of win by a margin that seems like pretty much expected for who their opponent is. Nothing's going to change again, but we'll see how it goes. I want to see some upsets this week. But I hope you enjoyed the video still, and I'll see you next week.